Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be in conversation with Apurva Bapna, Chief Culture Officer of WPP India today, as part of Unfold's leadership series to demystify entrepreneuring and entrepreneurship as a business imperative for organizations to invest and build its capabilities and sustain in these uncertain times. We are ending another historic year, defining our generation, battling to experiment, pivot, and build solutions for the future. Apurva was also a speaker in our leadership conclave, and I warmly welcome her to this conversation. A little about her. She's, as I mentioned, currently she's the Chief Culture Officer at WPP with a work experience of over 17 years across telecom, media, advertising, entertainment, and development sectors. She has built a well-respected repertoire across key organizational facets like talent development, business transformation, change management, cultural integration, and business partnership. She has been with WPP for over 14 years, and she is responsible to build an organizational culture founded on openness, optimism, and collaboration, the tenets of entrepreneuring. So a very, very warm welcome to you, Apurva. Thank you for being part of our series.
Thank you, Pooja. Thanks for having me, and I'm delighted to be here with you, talking to you.
Great. So, entrepreneurs or innovators require a climate and a culture. And, looking at the role that you've been performing and your, journey, what do you believe, how does a culture support the spirit of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, entrepreneurship is a critical sort of, a value system that you need to build in the organization to remain successful over a consistent period of time, and especially with the new workforce that's entering into this whole workspace. I think it becomes even more critical to focus on this. Now, a couple of things that I thought could be helpful based on both, my experience of having worked with WPP and also by seeing other organizations who've been invested in the area of building an innovative culture. One is, it's very important that we build an organization which truly practices, communication, like an open form of communication. Because if you don't sort of openly communicate as an organization, it becomes very hard for the employees to really understand if the new ideas are accepted, are welcomed, and what happens with those new ideas. And also, there must be a clear method, literally like a process or a framework that allows for people to submit new ideas on an ongoing basis, and also leading to action. So I'll give you an example. When I used to work with Group M, which is one of the agencies within WPP, we had launched this program which was called the Ignited Minds. And essentially, the plan was that, we literally opened up a contest to the entire organization for them to submit any idea that they thought could lead to innovation, either in the process that we have, which is more inward looking, or in the product, which is something that we offer to our clients through the work that we do. And it was the first time that we were doing it when we did it, and it was just so overwhelming to see the kind of response we got. I still remember we had close to almost 100 plus entries because it was a team effort, and we got so many people to write back and just realize that this was something that people really enjoyed doing. So having a clear sort of a process or a framework genuinely helps, because it gives a certain kind of credibility to the organization also, making sure that we give positive feedback to all ideas. I mean, you can't not acknowledge every idea that's come, even if it's not the idea that you are looking for, as an organization leader. It is still important that you give that feedback by being objective. Otherwise, you'll create people will feel discouraged to put forward their ideas, and linked to that is allowing for failures, because it's important that we recognize failures. We as an organization, for example, if I don't let people if I create a sense of fear for failure, then I'll never get new fresh ideas, because people will always be intimidated and people will always second guess themselves. So this the whole thing of penalizing people or questioning them too much on an idea which may not be very good is also something that we should discourage. And still we should give them positive feedback, like I said. And it is again, Pooja, this is my view. You're not born to be an entrepreneur, right? You build those skills over a period of time. And sometimes people build it naturally because of the environment that they come from. But a lot of times the organizations can provide that stimulus. You can actually create environment for conducting workshops which are focused on entrepreneurship. Like today, for example, I do workshops on multiple things, from women in leadership to conflict management to product enhancement and so on and so forth. But if you can actually create a track which is focused on building this whole entrepreneurship thinking, giving people books which are very interesting in this space to read, so giving that stimulus for people to be able to create that entrepreneurial thinking will truly help. And last but not the least, and again, this is to the generation that we deal with. I think empowering the generation, giving them the autonomy, focus on the output versus the input. That again is an important way to build a culture. So sorry for the long answer, but these are some of the things.
No, absolutely. And in fact, you actually answered my second question, which was, what mechanisms should you create for breakthrough ideas? And, to reiterate, some of the key elements that you mentioned was having a very open communication. And also, while random ideation has its place, it's important for an organization to create a little bit of a framework and a structure and a governance for ideation so that good ideas can get recognized, right? And you also mentioned about celebration of failures. So I think a lot of the elements that you brought about is really very key as an ingredient. And I've been also asking other speakers about whether entrepreneurs are self-made or can be nurtured, but and I go with as what you mentioned, really, that while some are born, some are intuitively, there are certain traits that you come with, but a lot of them can be also taught. And if the organization has a formal approach to it, then you can really build that culture. So thank you. I think you covered both my questions. So now we really, from, culture will succeed as you brought in the segue to building of competencies. So what do you really think are the competencies, and especially given the fact that, over the last 1.5 years, a lot of things have changed in terms of the way work is being delivered, approach to managing workforce, and for people themselves, dealing with the context. So what do you think are some of the key competencies that are at play today that entrepreneurs should watch out for, they should hone, they should develop, if they truly, want to make a difference?
Yeah, again, I mean, couple of things. For example, for me, a successful entrepreneur is somebody who's able to also look at others in the same light as, when you're looking for someone who has a lot of self-belief and conviction, because it's very easy to get intimidated by things that may not work for you. But what really keeps you going is the self-belief and the conviction in your ideas. And therefore one of the values or competencies that become very critical is this whole thing around persistence, right? You need to have look for people who are constantly persistent and have a lot of self-belief and conviction, and also somebody who's also demonstrating ample amount of commitment, because when you're on this path of entrepreneurship, we all know that it requires a sharp laser focus, right? I mean, you need to remain focused. You'll have lots of other things on the peripheral which will act as a disturbance, but you just need to stay focused on that path. And therefore, sometimes it also means that you may have to, make certain kinds of personal sacrifices to stay focused on that path. And I don't mean sacrifice in a bad way, but in a good way, so that it keeps you focused and keeps you going, right? Also look for, like I said, I was talking to you earlier also, that you need to look for people who are very focused on outcomes, as a competency, outcome focused or a solution focused is what will really help building that culture, as opposed to focusing too much on the problem at hand, right? So this whole problem focus versus solution orientation. So I think solution orientation is what we really want to look at. Also, somebody who has the ability to take risks, but who's taking calculated risk, right? I mean, you can't be totally out of the whack doing what you think is right without really having to, measuring the impact of what it could lead to potentially, right? So somebody who's able to look at taking calculated risk. And I'm seeing these competencies when I'm reflecting back on the kind of people who I've considered who are really sort of great at demonstrating these entrepreneurship skills. So it's not theoretical, but it truly is based on the people and the individuals that I've sort of interacted with. The other thing that I feel entrepreneurs do really well, and they translate that well for their people also is this whole focus on goal setting. Sometimes we undermine the importance of a simple thing as goal setting, but it's important that we are able to set specific and measurable goals with clearer milestones so that, every quarter, every 4 months, whatever that timeline you said, you can check back, follow up, see where the problem is, plug those gaps and move forward. And that to me is a competency that you require to nurture and practice over a period of time, right? And of course, you need to be persuasive. You need to have great networking skills because you need to be talking to multiple people, getting different perspectives, using their insights, seeing what's making sense, what's not making sense, the ability to filter, etc. And last but not the least, this whole thing around being independent and self-confident, because you can't have people who are always looking for someone else to help them find their way, right? And I know that entrepreneurs themselves demonstrate that skill in huge amounts, and that's when they look for people, I think it's important that you look for people who are truly independent and self-confident, but also at the same time humble and willing to take feedback and hear what other people have to say. So these are some of the competencies, Pooja, I think will really help organizations get the right kind of talent to build that culture, which recognizes entrepreneurship.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, you began with self-conviction, you ended with self-motivation. And that is so important because there is no job description called an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneur is really the spirit and the approach to which you work. And it can be very frustrating. There are some ideas that work, that some don't, but how do you be consistent and how do you navigate using all the skills that you mentioned, but yet keep your self-motivation? Because it's very easy to get dejected if your idea gets rejected, right? And you feel that, okay, I thought I gave a good idea, but it's rejected. But at the end of the day, if you want to truly, continue in the path of entrepreneurship, you need to consistently be encouraging yourself and motivating yourself. So thank you so much. I think there was a list of skills out there. A pleasure to be in conversation. This is a short little bite, and we're hoping to engage more with you, considering your passion. Thank you so much, Apoorva, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.